Hey everybody, welcome to the Yankee Cryptid Podcast. My name is Mary. I'm here tonight with my husband Eric. Eric, what's happening?
Hi, how you doing tonight?
Fabulous. So, Eric, have you ever heard of Glastenbury Mountain or the Bennington Triangle?
Of course I have.
I don't want to talk about the entire Bennington Triangle today. I just want to talk about a piece of it because there's just too much to cover at once. And I'll be honest, I haven't done all of the exhaustive research that I'm sure is necessary to really cover this topic. But ultimately, Glastenbury Mountain is in southwestern Vermont. It's right outside of Bennington, just to the east of Bennington. And it's surrounded by, the Green Mountain National Forest and the wilderness, basically. Glastenbury, it's a ghost town ultimately, but it was a mountain town back in the day that they built the town. It got washed out because they logged it too much, and then it just kind of disappeared into the mountains. But the area all around is, I guess, now referred to as the Bennington Triangle, and there's just been a lot of messed up stuff that happened there. So, I mean, dozens of disappearances. There were 5 disappearances in 5 years from 1945 to 1950. Again, we're not going to get into all of those. A quick internet search can really help you find more info on that. But everything from just weirdness, disappearances, monsters, so on and so forth. So,
Rocks.
well, first, I'm going to read a couple things from, it is a website called Obscure Vermont, and this article is actually incredible. Very well researched, tons of photos, it's just a really good article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, I just want to read a little bit of it. It's called The Vanished Town of Glastenbury and the Bennington Triangle, April 7th, 2015, by Chad Abramovich. So he actually, let me just point out that he goes through history of Glastenbury Mountain. The Native Americans refused to venture onto Glastenbury Mountain, fearing the land was cursed. They only used the land to bury their dead. I guess there's freak weather occurrences up there. It's just kind of historically it's just a really crazy place. This article really goes into a lot of that detail. Speculations abound, abiding many more layers to this fabled region's already weighted and transgressive reputation. Could the Bennington monster still be stalking the slopes, carrying its victims to some cave on the mountain? Maybe. As recently as 2003, Winooski resident Ray Dufresne saw something peculiar on his drive down Route 7 near Glastenbury. What he first thought was a homeless man stumbling around in a snowsuit turned into an alleged Bigfoot sighting upon a closer look. That story immediately blew up and was picked up by local news stations. While some skeptics dismiss it as a prankster in a gorilla suit, others aren't buying it, and plenty more sightings have been passed down by word of mouth from the Bennington area, all of which remain unaccounted for. Then they discuss UFO sightings. Not what I'm going for. Hold on. It's quite a long article. Fascinating, honestly. So if you'll bear with me as I scroll through. Did I pass it? Oh my goodness. Eric, say something.
Well, there's areas in almost every state that are designated triangles or has we call it more activity in other areas. So Rhode Island, Mass has the Bermuda Triangle. Mass has the Bermuda. Yeah, it's called New Bedford. No, it has the Bridgewater Triangle. There's also another triangle that runs out from Block Island or something like that, and Nantucket out to Long Island. What they call that one? There's the woods in Connecticut, Devil's.
Oh yeah.
That's supposed to be bad.
There's some fun places in Connecticut. Okay, so I found it. I just went right past it. Okay, sometime in the early 19th century, a stagecoach full of passengers were making their way over the mountains near Glastenbury, near present-day Route 9 in Woodford. It was well past dark, and a violent rainstorm was washing out the road. The rain was coming down so hard it soon forced the driver to slow down to a crawl as the thunder cracked the night sky. Things became so bad that the driver eventually came to a complete stop in the dark and wet mountain wilderness. As he hopped down from his perch with the lantern to get a good idea of the situation, he noticed something peculiar illuminated by lantern light. There were unfamiliar footprints in the mud and just ahead of him. The rain hadn't washed them away yet, so they had to be fresh tracks, the driver reckoned. His observations revealed that the tracks were widely spaced, suggesting that whatever had made them was tremendous in size. He noticed the horses were beginning to get spooked, but he just couldn't stop thinking about those tracks. What made them? He soon hollered back to the passengers and asked for their opinions. At this point, the horses were going wild, which was spooking the driver. That meant that something was skulking nearby, and it might just be what made those tracks. As the passengers began to step out, something dealt a savage blow to the side of the carriage. Now all of the passengers scrambled out of the carriage, completely terrified. The blows kept coming until the whole thing tumbled over on its side. The quivering passengers and driver huddled together in the dark, the rain stinging their faces. Then the creature came into view. Though it was almost impossible to see, two large eyes could be made out staring at them. A vague detail described the brazen creature was roughly 8 feet tall and hairy before it shambled back into the woods. Shortly after, whatever had attacked them had become dubbed as the Bennington Monster. Okay. From December 27, 2015, here's a comment on this article. It was late September or early October 1992. I was driving back to Manchester from NYC. It was about 2 or 3 a.m., one of those Vermont fall nights where the only light is the stars in the sky. As I'm just about to crest the rise on Route 7 at Glastenbury, I catch a dark bipedal figure crossing the road at the limits of my high beams. It moved like a human, but it was way too big to be a human. It could have been a bear walking on its hind legs or the front shoulders of a moose, but I've seen both before. It didn't seem right for either. It definitely didn't move like either. I hammered my brakes, slowed down, I cut a hard left and spun the car around. I swept my headlights across the road shoulder into the forest and stopped, but I didn't see anything moving in the area. Suddenly it seemed like a really bad idea to have done. I spun the steering wheel to the left and hammered the throttle, spinning tires as pulled back on the road and continued on northward to the Manchester exit at, let's say, a bit faster than the posted speed limit. Before then, I had always thought that such things were ridiculous and been derisive about such stories. After my experience, I'm not so sure anymore. I don't know what I saw crossing the road that night, but it had the hair standing up on my neck. 20 years later, it still gives me chills thinking about it. There's no way I'd ever go hiking or camping in the woods in Glastenbury. I suggest no one else do either. I mean, they talk about sinkholes, large cats, UFOs. The area is very haunted. Laying that stage. And I know that there are other accounts that I'm not really finding right now, but with that in mind, we wanted to share an experience that we had in the Glastenbury Mountain area on Christmas Day 2019. We were like, what are we going to do today? Like, okay, let's take a ride in the woods. So I believe that summer we had gone up Somerset Road and explored Stratton Arlington Road to Kelly Stand Road, and we loved it. I thought we finally found this road, and it was awesome. It was open later in the season than we had expected, so we were able to drive down there frequently. Forest Road 71 is Somerset Road. I'm not sure about Kelly Stand Road, but in this area, I mean, it's all woods, it's all wilderness. There's reservoirs, there's rivers, there's big lakes and ponds, and moose, and we've seen bear down there. It's just an awesome place to take a ride. It's a nice, we like driving in the woods, and it's just a great spot for it. So we decided to go down there on Christmas Day. At the end of our drive, we're further south on Somerset Road. I mean, what time was it?
I think it was starting to get a little.
Yeah, it was starting to get dark. It was dusk or sunset time, and we finally get to the part right past the airfield. Is it the airfield camping?
Airfield campground.
Airfield campground area. Yeah. We're just south of there, and there's an area where the river is right next to the road. Now, mind you, it's all frozen. So we get out. We're parked on one side of the road. I mean, it's not a huge road, but we're parked on one side, and we just go over to the edge of the riverbank to kind of just look at the river and observe how pretty it is in winter, whatever. The kids are in the car. So I remember that the river was frozen, but it was frozen in such a way that it was frozen in kind of like layers. Right? So it
was the water shift causing like layers of ice.
Right. So like the ice closest to us was most frozen, and then as it went away, it got less frozen, and then I think it was finally open a little bit, right? Like a little strip was just water.
Yes.
So there's a bunch of rocks in the riverbank, and we're like trying to throw the rocks over to the thin ice, so it cracks like, the air ice cracks, like whatever. We're just throwing rocks into the river, whatever. So I don't remember what happened first. I know that now the car's behind us, and next to the car is woods. There's no river over there. It was kind of like a slight hill, and then just all wooded slight hill, right?
Yes.
That's how you would describe what's on the other side of the car?
Yes.
Okay. So at one point, something hit the car. I don't remember if that happened before the next thing, or if that was the next thing happened first and then the rock hit the car.
I think it was the thing happened first and then something hit the car.
Yeah, you could be right. I don't super remember. But as we're throwing these rocks, we throw a rock, throw another rock, whatever, and then rocks started getting thrown back at us.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were getting thrown at us, but they were getting thrown from the opposite bank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it was the opposite bank.
Yes.
And kind of doing the same thing we were doing.
Yeah. They were kind of like ours were skirting across the ice and then dropping into the water, and then from the other side, it was doing the same exact thing. So they weren't ricocheting off anything coming back over the ice. These were, hitting on that side, sliding towards our side. Like someone was behind a tree or something.
So, yeah, this happened, 5 times?
Oh, yeah.
Probably about 5 times. And then there was also the addition of the what I'm assuming it was a rock that hit the car.
Yeah.
And it didn't damage the car, but we heard it. And here's let's set the scene a little bit more. 71 is a dirt road. It's a forest road in the Green Mountain National Forest. And on this road there's maybe
a dozen houses, maybe if that, but they're spread out. Like there's a group in the beginning, but then there's maybe 1 or 2 further down, and there's where we were, there was no houses.
Yeah, I don't think there was any houses close by, but also across the river. So how wide is that river? 30 feet?
30, 40 feet wide. Probably about...
It's not super deep.
No, it's like 2 feet maybe in places.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah.
Now...
It's pretty consistent, the distance behind, across. So some areas are shorter than others, some are wider, but... And then
it's a wide river, but it's not.
On the other side of that, you just got fucking...
Yeah, there's nothing on the other side.
Woods.
To my understanding, there's no trails, there's no houses, there's no roads, there's nothing. So, for a bit I was thinking, well, maybe there's somebody over there, snowshoeing around or something.
Fucking around.
Bearing in mind that there's snow everywhere. I was actually surprised that the road was still open, given the weather. But there's nothing across. There's no... I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything else.
I didn't see anything out there too, because you got to think there's no leaves on the trees out there. There's snow on the ground, and you can see pretty far off into the woods. And of course, it gets it's getting a little dark, but you could see maybe across. Once you got on the other side, you could probably see 100 yards in.
Yeah, give or take. There were some
darker areas.
Some evergreens, but we didn't hear nobody yelling, no vehicles running, nothing. It was very quiet. I don't even think that whole trip we saw another person, on the road.
Yeah.
Which is, you'll sometimes you'll go down there and there won't be anybody, but then other times you'll see there'd be a good amount of traffic. There is a campground kind of up the way how far is that? A mile? 2 miles? What?
Probably about a mile and a quarter up on the left-hand side.
Right.
So on the same side we were on. So, I mean, I didn't see any movement out there.
Oh, I saw nothing. I heard nothing except for the rocks hitting the ice, which
Yeah.
was crazy.
At one point, I remember we threw a rock across. I forgot it was either you or me. I think it might have been you. We threw a rock across. It skimples across the ice and dropped into the water. And then, like, not even 10 seconds later, here comes one back.
Yeah.
So unless something's underneath the ice, just like, hey, or a fish is flipping it up.
I doubt that.
That ain't happening. So we were like, oh, let's try this again. So we tried it again. And I think this one slid across the ice all the way into the ice area, like underneath that tree on the other side. And then, sure enough, another one comes back, sliding across the ice. Like someone had thrown it, it hits the ice, all the way down in front of us.
Yeah, that was, what did you feel in that moment? Because I felt I was definitely like, holy shit.
I was...
Are we, I didn't even have the words.
I was kind of more like a sense of like, all right, so is this someone fucking with us? But I couldn't see anybody, because usually, if you throw something, you see some movement or whatever. But I didn't see any movement at all out there. I didn't see anything walking. I didn't see an arm all of a sudden reach out or someone giggling. But there was nothing. So, and I was like, all right. So evidently something's fucking with us right now. Don't know what it was. It definitely wasn't a swamp monster in the middle of winter in Vermont.
Swamp monster. So, I don't have any explanation. We started recording.
Yeah.
We have some of those videos, but I don't think we picked anything up in the video. Of course, like it would happen and we turn the video on and then like it was cold. So like holding the camera was kind of like, eh. And so we'd put the camera away. It would happen again, that kind of shit. So if I recall correctly, I didn't have a lot of memory on that particular phone to be just taking videos if nothing was happening,
Yeah.
So I don't recall there being anything significant on the video. So, but in the whole time we were like 10 feet from the car. It's not like we were far, and it all kind of happened like unexpectedly. Of course, we weren't expecting that to happen. We do that all the time.
Yeah.
We stop and throw rocks in the river all the time. So this time it just happened that something threw rocks back.
Yeah,
and
kind of weird.
at any time I never felt threatened. I definitely was like, holy shit, like, should we go? But I didn't feel like they weren't throwing the rocks at us.
No, they weren't coming at us.
No, it was almost like they were doing what we were doing, to a point. The thing that I could potentially maybe in some way explain away the rocks hitting the ice, maybe. I can't even think of a logical explanation right now, but what I felt was off was and it wasn't a rock, it was more like a pebble, like a small rock that hit the car. That was a little bit, I don't know, that just kind of changed things for me,
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I have any idea what that was. I'm not making a suggestion or saying that I saw anything that I didn't see.
No, we didn't see nothing.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
It was odd.
It was odd, in this area. So
no explanation. That's another thing. We have no explanation at all.
No,
Nothing.
because
we didn't see anything.
After that, I remember looking up trail maps, and of course you can walk off trail, but it's wintertime, and I looked up trail maps. There's no trails across the river in that area. So yeah, that was that was interesting because we'd only been here a couple months. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was longer than that, maybe 6 months. But and we've been in there many times since.
Yeah, we really haven't.
We heard some noises while we were camping.
Yeah, we definitely heard some.
But I don't.
Weird fucking noises when we were camping to make us climb into the van all of a sudden.
Yeah, we were up the way past the airfield campground. There's, what are they backcountry campsites? They're free. All along that road, there's probably, I don't know, what, 15
to 20
campsites. And we actually, September of 2020, we actually went camping in the van there. And I think the first night everything was fine, right? We were there for 2 nights.
Yeah, the first night I think was fine.
It was really windy.
Yeah, it was windy.
The first night was very, very windy. But I think it was the second night, or vice versa. It might have been the first night was quiet, and the second, I don't really remember. I wasn't really reaching back into my memory about that event for this recording. Sorry. But I do remember I think we were sitting around the campfire, and we heard, like, was it crashing around in the woods?
Yeah, it was pretty loud. I mean, it wasn't to the point where I'm like, oh shit, here comes a fucking bear. But, like, it was definitely louder than a deer. It was making a commotion out there.
It was not a deer. But I do remember my heart went to my throat, and I'm like, all right, we're getting in the van now.
Yeah.
And was it that night that we had we assumed it was a bear paw print in the mud on the van. So, I mean, could it have been a bear? I guess.
It could have been.
But
I mean, they're around. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they are. We've seen bear down there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we haven't had any other experiences in there of all the times we've been there. Nothing.
Yeah,
nothing that I can, recall. But I just wanted to, I thought we should share that story.
Yes, that was a good
story. Yeah, it was definitely a little bit odd and creepy and kind of like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Again, not speculating on what it is. But I've heard Sasquatch is known to throw rocks, so I find that compelling.
Well, yeah, and I don't think a human could actually hide out there long enough. Well, one of us seeing something out there in the woods. I mean...
Well, I mean,
a human could have, but, like, in order to throw it accurately, they'd have to be within, I don't know, 10, 15, 20
That was
yards.
The other thing, is that the rocks were not coming from the same place. They seemed like they were coming from, like, 2, possibly 3 different spots. So there's that. There's that aspect of it. But again, that was Somerset Road, the Green Mountain National Forest. And that is in the Glastenbury Mountain area, which is just a ton of interesting history and accounts and stories from that area. So, yeah, that's kind of it for this one. Just wanted to share that experience quickly and remind you that if you have any stories that you want to share with us, whether it's anonymously or whatever, we'd love to hear them. We are definitely looking to share, like, accounts of just
the
weird stuff that you've been through in New England. We definitely think that New England is underrepresented in the world of, I'm going to say cryptids, but not just cryptids. Like we've talked about, there's definitely a lot of paranormal ghost activity going on in New England, and we're just interested in all of it. So yeah, again, share with us your thoughts, your stories, your feedback. yankeecryptid@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
We actually can even put them on if they want to come on.
Yeah, for sure. If down the road, as we get a little more established with this thing we're doing here, we'd also like to talk to people. Like, if you want to come on and talk, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
We could actually down the road too. We could actually meet on location.
Oh gosh, I definitely want to start going on location.
Yeah, we could go and talk to people on location. They
or
can
just show these areas,
where they had an experience, what happened, and we can look around a little bit maybe, and and that goes for all of it, for the cryptid, for ghosts, for whatever. No problem there.
Yeah, totally. All right. Peace out.
Out.